February 8th, welcome back to Edgework. I'm Zack Phillips, joined here today by So Money, as well as Rusty Bill. Alongside us here, we've got 7 NHL games ahead of us on the schedule tonight, so we'll break down each of those, give out some best bets, and if you stay tuned, you hit the like button, subscribe here to the channel throughout the course of the show today, we may have a cross-sport Super Bowl prop bet for you. So you're going to want to stay tuned until the very end. You're going to want to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel here if that's something you're interested in. But before we can get into today's games, before we can even get to that as well, I got to remind people that today's show, as always, is sponsored by BetStamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is by using multiple sports books and always getting the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp to help you do so. BetStamp compares odds across every sports book, whether it's for games, futures, or player props. You can save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. So make sure to download the app today. It is available on iOS, Android, as well as on the web. And if you're looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, you can check out the offers available at betstamp.app/edgework. That's betstamp.app/edgework. The link is in the description of the show as well. So if you're struggling to type that in, that's betstamp.app/edgework. You can just click the link. It's there in the description on YouTube as well as on podcasting platforms. But for those who missed the show yesterday, or for those trying to catch up on the week, we do go 1-1 last night. So we start off 1-2. Then on Tuesday, we go 2-5. And last night, we're 1-1. So it's been a little bit of a slow, shaky start coming out after this All-Star break. You know, we go through that too here. You take a few days off. Now all of a sudden you got to shake the rust off. But if there's any crew that's going to do it, I know it's this Thursday crew with Russ there getting a new mic, and So Money coming in hot after acquiring Elias Lindholm and seeing him pot 2 the other day. So Money, how you feeling about this Canucks team? We put a poll in the chat there. Are we all Canucks? I'm trying to gauge the vibe of everyone in the chat right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. I didn't necessarily think the Canucks played a full 60, but when you're that good, do you really need to play a full 60, right? And but seriously, what I like about this team though is that even when they don't have it going, they can work on other parts of the game to kind of get them through the tough stretches of the game, right? So like we saw that in the first 20 minutes or so, just over a period and a half, the Canucks played very, very well. They were the better team. They did deserve to probably have a better result on the scoreboard as well. But then Carolina, as good teams do, they started taking over. So instead of panicking, like how we've seen this team do a lot of times, they just worked on it defensively, right? They absorbed the Hurricanes' waves, and they got a lucky goal, and they shut it down. This is Rick Tocchet style. This is what he was trying to do in Arizona, but he didn't have the horses in Arizona to do it, right? And you can call the Canucks lucky, right? They are lucky, right? Any team that's first overall at this point in the season, there is a lot of luck involved, right? But that's the way that this team plays. They'll try to get the lead, they'll try to shut it down, and if they can't, they have the horses to try to push it a little bit. And when they're taking chances, they've got an elite goaltender who can mask a lot of their deficiencies. So this is the way the team plays, and it's really fun to see right now.
Well, I was gonna ask about talk it secret stuff. It's like in Space Jam when Jordan gives them the water. Is that what you guys have going on over there? Like Lindholm gets there, all of a sudden this guy first shot as a Canuck, it's in the net, and he scores again later in the game. Uh, just continuing the high shooting percentage that this team has been able to put together all season. Are you worried at all that this is something that might tail off as you approach the playoffs or get into the playoffs? Because I think everything else we've said about the team has been pretty fair. I think your assessment of the way that they actually play, the way that they're coached, the kind of identity that they have, the effort that they bring, it's all there. Everything else is showing signs of a successful team or a team that can take it further and further into the playoffs. But I just keep looking at that, as you said, so many like the luck. Does that run out? And when it does, is there enough there to kind of carry them through and be okay?
So truthfully, I am worried. Um, you don't generally see teams that have the kind of peripheral numbers that the Canucks are putting up translate into playoff success, right? Eventually the luck runs dry, right? So there's a part of me that while I am enjoying the current winning, there's a part of me that kind of wishes that we start losing a few games here, right? And and we start eventually the goals they're gonna start drying up, right? Like it's just not sustainable to have this shooting percentage last the whole season, right? It's just and the worst time it dries up for a team like the Canucks with like kind of what they're showing is round one in the playoffs when they can't buy a goal in game 6 and 7, right? So that is a concern I have. Um, I don't. I joke about the President's Trophy, but I don't really care, right?
Yeah.
I would like to win the division just because I want to get Edmonton and Vegas locked into a first round series. Um, Other than that, I I'd be fine with them losing a bit here. They're I remember like now the what I will say about the Canucks though is that the chances that they are generating, it is by design, right? In the sense that this is a team that values quality over quantity. They're not just going to throw pucks on it. It's a very structured team, right?
Yeah.
And I can say that confidently because it comes from Talkit, right? It comes from the old Pittsburgh style of play that they tried implementing with this management. Talkit was trying to do that in Arizona, so there's a lot of structure and consistency behind this, right? So um, at the same time, um, you're generating lots of quality chances, but you're converting on a lot of them, right? So um, I would like that to run out a little bit soon rather than later on in April. But other than that, I mean, I'm happy with the team the way that they're playing. I was kind of hoping that they lost that Carolina game because there was a lot of luck involved to get through that game, and I kind of I'm concerned that the luck reserves might be running out.
Well, I mean, so many. I think what's the saying? You got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky. I feel like that's kind of what's going on in Vancouver there. And I think this is probably a pretty good point here by Nebraska knows some stuff. Just saying you play with
Yeah,
good structure and you make your own luck for sure. I mean, you just play smart hockey, play good hockey. Some of those things are going to come. It's just there is a daunting cloud hanging over in regards to that shooting percentage
Yeah,
yeah,
and
and you
luck
see it every
that's gone on
night in
there.
the market. The market moves
Yeah.
against them pretty much every night, and these odds makers seem to be not phased by what they're doing. So it's very very interesting what's going on with them from night to night basis in the market. It's like everybody sees these underlying numbers and thinks that they're going to regress, but every night they keep winning for somehow some way. It's absolutely
and And the thing is that like if it was any other team besides the Canucks, I'd be like right on that train as well. That like I can't wait to fade this team in the playoffs, right?
sure
Like
Right.
and like that sucks, man. But I'm just trying to enjoy this as long as I can.
right.
It's
Hopefully,
but it's coming.
yeah. Hopefully, yeah, the regression doesn't come until June.
Yeah.
Yeah, until June, until the summer when they're on the golf course and they're all slashing it around. That's when the regression comes and the luck goes away.
Yeah.
Russ, we opened this up with Canucks Talk Radio, but how are things going with you? How was your break? Golf seems like it's coming around the corner here. I don't know about you, but in Toronto, we're getting sunny days now. All of a sudden, it's
Yeah.
starting to warm up relative to what we usually get. Golf's back on TV. Like the vibes are feeling pretty good right now.
Yep.
What's going on with you? How are you doing?
Not a lot, man. It's been a good break. Yeah, like you said, it's a good time of year. We've got a great week ahead of us. We've got the Waste Management Open to bet. We've got the Super Bowl, obviously, on Sunday.
Yep.
Full card of NHL games in between there. So, yeah, it's good. It's been very nice here also. It's almost 60 degrees today. The driving range at the local club is starting to open up, so it's probably hit that. And, yeah, it's unseasonably warm. And, yeah, everything is great, man. It should be a very good week.
All right, well, I'm glad to hear. If things are going well for the people in the chat, please hit that like button here while you're watching. Less than half the people watching have hit like. If you did enjoy today's thumbnail as well, hit the like button. We can continue to make more of those. I know So Money liked the thumbnail for today, so keep hitting that like button. We'll have more of those. Let's get into today's games, and let's jump first and foremost to the Florida Panthers hosting the Washington Capitals here tonight. Florida coming in minus 250, the Caps plus 236, and a total of 5.5 in most places right now. You can see some sixes out there as it is creeping that way a little bit, but for the most part across the board, 5.5s. Russ, what are your thoughts on this game here tonight and where we're seeing this side and total currently priced at?
Yeah, honestly, I think you can see the side is moving all basically towards the Panthers, which I completely agree with. I think this Caps season is basically all but over. But we did play the over 5.5 right around minus 120. Happy to lock that in before it moves anymore. This is a little bit of a contrarian play. We've gotten a little bit burned playing Florida overs and kind of got off of it. But the last couple of weeks, we've been playing a lot of these Caps overs. And it's actually turned out very good. They've hit over the 5 of their last 6 games, and basically their defense is just trash. They're absolutely terrible. And honestly, Lindgren, who we were kind of relying on earlier in the season and actually played on him once, he's reverted back to old form, and he's just playing very, very poorly now. 57th in goals saved above expectation the last month or so. Like I said, I don't love playing Panthers overs, but I do find value here in a 5.5. I think that's a little bit short. This is a very, very good defensive team in the Panthers, and they've struggled the last couple of games to put up goals. But I think this is a great spot for them to put up, honestly, 4 or 5 goals against a Washington team that is just terrible on defense, 25th in expected goals against the last month or so. So like I said, I don't love playing Panthers overs. I try not to make a habit of it. Lately, they're a very, very good defensive team. They haven't been scoring a ton lately, but I think this is the night that they kind of break it open and against a bad Caps team. I can easily see a 5-1 result or something of that nature. So I think the Panthers can kind of name their price here, name their goals here. And I think that 5.5 is a little bit too short. So start to show off with a little bit of contrarian over on over 5.5 here, minus 120, I think is a great play.
All right, so we'll grab the 5.5 minus 120 now, Russ. For those people who might be watching back later or listening on podcasts or something, as you're saying, we're seeing him kind of move towards the 6 a little bit, heading in that direction. What's the cutoff point for you here on where you'd play this 5.5? And then kind of on the other side of that, once it gets to 6, would you play it? Is there a number you'd be okay with there? Or is this 5.5 and 5.5 only?
No, I would probably play it right to minus 125 or so. After that, I'd be looking for plus money 6s. I think if you can get that over 6 at plus 105, I think that's a fine play. I really, between that and the minus 120-ish, I don't really have an edge. But I do think you would want to play the 5.5 if you have access to that minus 120, just because of how Panthers games have been going recently. You need all the help you can get, and I can easily see this game landing on 6. But yeah, like I said, if it does get out of hand, you could play it right up to minus 125, and if not, look for over plus 100 plus money 6.
All right, so 5.5 minus 120 we'll grab there. So Money, what are your thoughts on this game, and do you have any interest in making a bet here tonight?
So all season we've been betting Panthers unders, right? And we've talked about how they are a very very good defensive team, um, and the unders have done well for us all season. Those numbers were at 6.5, and
Yes.
they were at sixes as well, right? We're down to 5.5 now, right? I've mentioned this before, like playing an under 5.5 in today's NHL, it takes a very, very special spot, right? So last night I had an under 5.5 in the Minnesota Chicago game. Um, those two teams that was that was conducive to an under 5.5. These two teams, I can't justify that 5.5, right? So I do agree with the overlook on the 5.5, even though it's Florida, because again, the number matters, right? We were playing unders at 6.5. Now we're a whole goal shorter, adjusted now on the 5.5. So that's where I do have interest in the over. Florida, we know what we're going to get from them. They're probably going to shut it down. But Washington, they are having trouble defensively, especially the last couple of games. And as Russ alluded to as well, they're not getting goaltending as well, right? So for those reasons, you have one team in Florida that is a very good defensive team, but Washington doesn't allow this game for me to stay at the 5.5. So I'll be joining Russ here on the over as well here.
All right, perfect. There you go. Kind of double best bet here for the first game that we dig into. Again, we'll track all the picks in the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. So if you miss anything, you want to see how we've done, make sure to check that out over there. You can see us on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, see how we've done throughout the course of the season. You can head on over to the BetStamp app and find us there. We will recap all the picks at the very end of the show as well. Now, let's jump over to the next game that we're going to take a look at for tonight, and that would be the Calgary Flames and the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey hosting Calgary here tonight, minus 132. The Flames at plus 133, and a total of 6.5 right now, kind of pretty even on either side. So, Money, initial thoughts on this game and where we're currently seeing a total at?
Yeah, I wanted the Devils here initially, but it opened up a little outside my range, and it's moved towards the Devils as well. So I will pass on the game. I think that I wanted the Devils at about minus 128. But it looks like they've got some news here coming down. So I will pass on it for now. I do like the Devils, but I can't get there on that number right now.
All right, fair enough. Russ, anything for you here tonight?
Yeah, it looks like the Devils and the over are taking money as we kind of just started recording here. Yep, we played this over at plus money. I think that Bet Rivers price at minus 105 is fine. I honestly think the fair price here will probably be minus 110 or minus 115 to the over. So there's not a ton of an edge, but I do really like this play, and my numbers here have 7 the majority of the time. As much as we talked about the Panthers being a good defensive team, this is completely opposite. I think these are two of the worst defensive teams in the league. You've got Calgary, who's 26 in expected goals against the last month or so, and the Devils are 30th in expected goals against. Absolutely can't stop anything. They're not getting any goaltending, and honestly, they are a pretty good offensive team. They're third in expected goals for. So in the Devils, you have a perfect over team, in my opinion, and at home they seem to get tons of goals as well. 16-8 to the over at home. This Devils team. So at a cheap over 6.5 or even a plus money, which is what we got, I think that's a good play. I do think this will probably take a little bit of money and move up. So, if you're listening to this, I would lock it in now. I could see this getting to minus 120 or so for the over. But yeah, this is a pretty classic spot for me. Two very, very bad defensive hockey teams. I'll take the over all day. I honestly could see this being a very, very close game, and get to 3-3 in the third period and cash that. That's what I'm hoping for. So no play on the side. I think So Money nailed it. If you could get it right around minus 125. The Devils would be the look, but it seems like that's taking money. So another over here for me.
And
All right, there you go.
just to add to that, there's a Jack Hughes adjustment here as well. So he is in, and that's another reason why that Devils number just accelerated how it did.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah,
Okay.
That's exactly it.
All right, so there you go. Grab another 6.5 over, or grab another over there at 6.5 in that Calgary, New Jersey game. So we'll lock that in right now. But let's head on over to another game. And so, Money, I'm sorry if this is going to bring up demons for you, but we got to check in on the Bruins Canucks game. The Bruins are hosting Vancouver here tonight. Got minus 128. The Canucks plus 121 and a total of 6.5. The floor is yours. We opened up with some Canucks talk radio, but take us through this game here tonight and what your thoughts are on where the price is currently sitting.
Can we talk about Demko not hugging Swayman? So
were you okay with that? Did you dislike it? You think there's bad karma coming? Like, what are the thoughts there?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think that there is history, right? For those that remember in 2011, during the Cup final, Tim Thomas was asked about like Luongo said something nice about him, and like Thomas was just like whatever, right? And then so like Thomas was like asked about that, and then he said that I didn't realize it was my job to be pumping his tires, right? So that's fair, right? So the way I looked at the situation on the weekend was that he didn't hug him. I didn't realize it was Demko's job to be pumping Swayman's tires, right? So and Demko is a smart enough kid. He knows his history. He's talked about it before. So I don't know if he's ever going to come out and say it, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was something that went through his head, right? When you're in that locker room and you got the Boston goalie trying to dab everybody up, right? So there's that. The simple explanation would be he was just focused. He didn't see him. He was just on his way, right? So that's probably it. But I just wanted to give that historical context because that's the way that I would like to look at this situation, right? Like there's not a lot for me to hang on to from 2011. So when that came up, I loved it and I made a whole narrative out of it. So that's the way that I view that situation. Yeah. In terms of the game tonight, the line is fair, right? Boston, they're not playing particularly well. You do see you see some flaws in their games. You see some deficiencies starting to creep up in their game. Then Boston is another team similar to the Canucks where a lot of their results are not indicative of the way that they've been playing. Obviously, it's more pronounced with the Canucks, but it is there for Boston as well. So I think the line is fair. It's tough for me to not bet the Canucks at these numbers right now. They're good plus money every night, but I also have to take a look at this objectively. If it was anybody else besides the Canucks, I'd be waiting to see their play starting to dip and the results follow suit before I'd be fading the Canucks heavily as well. So I will pass on the game. Obviously, Vancouver-Boston has special meaning. I do want to win this game. I was talking about earlier that I would like to see the Canucks lose some games, but not tonight. They can start losing after tonight. It's a big game here for us, right? Vancouver-Boston, it still means something. So let's go Canucks, and then they can start losing after tonight.
By the way, so Money, the poll put up in the chat, I said, are you a Canuck? And there's 3 options. 1, we are all Canucks. 2, Matt, only for so money. And 3, definitely not a Canuck. It's pretty even right now. 38% only for so money, 33% we are all Canucks, and 29% definitely not a Canuck.
I like that. I like that.
Close, but yeah, there you go. You're the leader. You're the leader in the clubhouse. People got support for you there, so that's at least nice to see. I'm glad to see people on the. That's the difference across the shows on the Hammer as well here. Like, edge work, the only people who are like attacking each other is the people on the shows. Like everyone's just taking jabs at Moretto and Alber effectively. Outside of that, it's pretty supportive. But like
Rightfully so.
whatever. They deserve it. Yeah, but then the chat and everyone who watches is in support of everyone on the show, so we get the support from them. Outside of that, these guys on Forward Progress and Hit the Books, like they're all praying for each other's downfall, waiting for everyone to lose bets and stuff so that they can roast them. Like that's just not who we are over here. That's not the
No,
community that we've built. So that's
no.
nice to see. Somebody nice to see you got some support. Russ, what are your thoughts on this game? Is there anything else that you might be looking at, or any plays you might be interested in?
No, I mean, as usual, my numbers do have value against the Canucks. I think this is a pretty much nightly thing. It's absolutely it's like clockwork. Honestly, not surprised at all here. But like I have said, and I've tweeted about it, I have not bet against the Canucks, I think, since December, and it's probably saved me, up to 10 units because I do find value against them almost every night. But like I said, they just keep on winning despite the market, despite what other people think in the underlying metrics. This team just has something this year. And one thing I do like that I'm seeing from the Canucks is their defense has really, really improved over the last month or so. Third in expected goals against. I mean, they're just not letting anything go. And then they have one of the best goaltenders in the league. So honestly, I think that as much as they have just been winning, they're actually playing even better now. They're good on the road. This is a Boston team that is good at home, but the Canucks have been just as good on the road. So I think this is a great matchup. This is going to be a very good game. Honestly, there's so much variance. There's so much that could happen in this game that I have no bet at all. But this is two of the top 5 teams in the NHL and power rankings, and I think this is an important game for both teams, but not enough value or edge for me to make a bet on this game. Probably just watch it and kind of see.
I think that there's some. Actually, go ahead there, somebody.
Yeah, just to touch on Russ's point there too, right? Like, obviously I'm a Canucks fan, so there's always impending doom, right? Like I'm always worried about something, right? So I do take some solace in the fact that if this team was winning 6-5, 5-4 every night, I would be terrified, right?
Right.
They're not, right? Even though their shooting percentage is high, they're scoring goals. There's a lot of good defensive structure there. So and even if inevitably when the goals start running dry here very soon, they do have that defense and that goaltending to fall back on, so that when they're not getting lucky scoring goals, maybe come playoff time, they are good enough to win the 2-1 game. So I do take some solace in that.
Yeah, definitely.
You notice how so money said when they run out soon, like manifesting the idea that this will happen soon so that it doesn't happen later.
Yeah, preparing himself.
I need this to happen soon.
Right, before the playoffs, yeah.
Just don't lose the division though. I do want that division.
Just lose enough goals.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like in The Incredibles when they've got Dash running the race at the end, and then he's way too fast, and they're in the stands yelling at him like, slow down, and then he drops way behind, like, okay, pick it up. That's so money with the Canucks now, like just enough, but not too much.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I was gonna ask you guys because I think Russ made a good point there, and I'm kind of curious to hear like how you guys approach some of this stuff. I'm sure some people in the chat would, we hear of different people who handicap the games by watching them and looking at some of the historicals and just kind of getting situational, I guess, understandings of spots or teams on traveling, how have they performed against a team throughout that year, the goalies, like all those kinds of things. Then you get guys like yourselves who I would say come into these situations far more analytical, not to say that there's not other parts to what you're doing, but far more analytically based, but having models and looking at things and creating numbers on games. Russ brought up a good point there where it's like, okay, now you've got all these spots where you're finding value against the Canucks, but you're deciding not to play these numbers. You're deciding not to jump in and make those bets, whether that's sides or totals in games that you're looking at. How is it that you guys kind of, and Russ, I'll let you take it first, but how is it that you kind of approach these situations where you're like, I've got value against this team. I should be betting against the Canucks in theory on paper here based on what you're seeing, but you've decided not to. Like, what is it that's going into that decision? Is it that you just aren't believing in what you're seeing on the paper or on the screen? Is it just that the Canucks are too lucky and you don't want to go against it? Like, how is it that you approach these and say, okay, my numbers say this, but I can't get there mentally?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think a question that all handicappers, all serious handicappers, have to face almost every season, every model that they have. And it's different for everybody. For me personally, I probably rely on my model up to 80, 85%. And I've done this long enough. This is the fourth season that I have originated my own lines for NHL. And so as it goes on, I get more and more confident in my numbers, in what I'm making, that I can trust them even more. Sometimes that turns out to be great. Like early in the season, we had an edge on all these Islanders overs. Pretty much hammered all these Islanders overs, and it paid off in dividends. It paid off great for me. Now it's a little bit. It's a good question because of the Canucks. I definitely played against them early on in the year, and it burned me. And then watching this market move against them every night, I think it's a super interesting thing. And after losing a couple of these bets where the market moves with you and they just ignore this market movement, I kind of stopped playing on them. And there's other things too. There's like I've talked about, my numbers do not like the Coyotes this year at all. And we played against the Coyotes a handful of times. But honestly, when they play at home, they're a whole different team. So there's some of these intangibles that the model and that numbers just can't support. So there's little things in there. That would be that 15% that you see. I traditionally, like I said, up to 85%, I rely on the numbers that I have. I don't watch a ton of hockey, not as much as most of the guys on this show. So I rely on analytics. I rely on data. But there is that small portion that you have to, I think that you have to leave in there, that 15% of just being a sports bettor and a gambler that allows you to kind of change your mind and hopefully save some units on the year. Obviously, it goes both ways. You could there's certain times when the model supports a play, but you don't think for whatever reason, and then it wins or whatever. So you're missing out on units that way too. But as you go on and as you do this longer and longer, hopefully, you trust yourself enough to make up for that and to save yourself more units. But, I think to answer your question, it's different for everybody. And for me, I think it's probably about 85% model, 15% what I see.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So Money, I don't know, is there a different approach for yourself? You kind of in line with Russ there?
I'm a little bit of a hybrid. I have a lot of the old school in me, watching the games, seeing how teams are trending. I also have a lot of the new approach of like the analytics as well. So I tend to fall in the middle. It's an inexact science. There's a lot of feel involved, right? So let's talk about the Canucks. My numbers go against the Canucks almost every night, as do most people who do make their own lines. Mm-hmm. But the reason I don't bet against the Canucks, like let's forget about the fandom, right? The reason why I don't bet against the Canucks is that there's a logical, common sense reasons that you can lay out why this team keeps winning instead of performing as they should be doing in terms of the model, right? And we've talked about that ad nauseum. I'm not going to get into their defensive structure and all that, right? So yeah. There's if you have watched enough, or like you're looking at these teams playing, where they're going, and you can identify logical reasons why a team is overperforming or underperforming their metrics, that should take precedence over what your model number spits out, right? So another example, the year that Colorado swept Chicago, the year Colorado swept the Blues in the playoffs, mm-hmm. Not the last time they played when they won in 6, but I believe it was a year before when they swept them. Every game, my model was telling me to play the Blues, right? I was very high on the Blues all season. But I'm watching that game, right? I'm watching that series. Colorado is dominating them every single game, and it's not even close. It's not. It's as if they're not even playing the same game, right? So that's where you have to be careful um, because the model will eventually pick up on that, but there's a gap there, right? And
Right.
that gap from the time of what is actually happening and your model picking up on it, that is a gap where you need your feel and your intangibles and your experience to kick in with where you are seeing these teams going, right? So I would say that it's as Russ mentioned, it's different for everyone. I know Russ relies on his model. I believe he said 85%. Like I know he does that way more than I do. I'm about like I would say about 60 to 70%. But I also treat my model as a baseline, right? It's a baseline for me to get a number, but then I have a whole different area of like the market analytics, what I see of the teams, of my game scores, right? That I also incorporate into that baseline. Right now,
Right.
as long as the baseline is not completely off of the market number, I'm okay because I can apply those intangibles into um, into my model number as well. So I am a hybrid, um, but there is room for both, and there is a way to be able to incorporate both fully so that you get the full holistic experience of making your number on a particular game.
Yep.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. I just think I get to work with all you guys, very smart people across every day and hear about numbers and where you guys are kind of looking at things based on those. But then I also hear you just drop in lines every now and then about like, well, I just can't bet against this team here, despite the fact that it's maybe telling me to, or my numbers are telling me to. And very interesting I think, especially for people who might be kind of even new to it or new to modeling or creating numbers, to be able to say like, hey, how do I evaluate these things and go with or against opinions every now and then. So appreciate you guys sharing that. Again, if that is useful to you, hit that like button. Once we get 10 more likes here, we've got another game or a couple games to cover before we wrap this up tonight. But 10 more likes, we'll give out a Super Bowl cross sport prop here. So we teased it at the beginning, but we need 10 more likes before the show can end. So keep hitting the like button and we'll give it out at the very end. But Russ, let's go to the next game on the schedule here tonight. The Carolina Hurricanes are hosting your Colorado Avalanche. Carolina minus 130 here. The Avs plus 124. Seeing a total right now of 6.5. You can find some plus money on that, over 6.5 there. Mostly juice to the under. What are your thoughts on where this with this game is lined, either side or total?
Yeah, I do think this number is a little bit short on the Hurricanes. We're going to go against the Avs here. I think minus 135 is a good play. I think it probably should be closer to minus 150. Yeah, a couple different things here. Yeah, minus 130 is great. Couple different things here. These teams are very, very comparable. Both probably top 6-ish in power rankings. Both very, very solid teams. Couple of differences though. This is the third game in 4 nights for the Avs. They've been playing their top line, their top guys, just a ton of minutes. I do think that will play in a little bit. And then just comparing the underlying metrics of these teams, there's one leak I think that the Avs need to shore up before the playoffs. It's their defense has just not been playing very well at all. 22nd in expected goals against the last month or so. And you're going to get a Hurricanes team who's top 10 in almost every metric there is, except for goaltending. I think the Hurricanes goaltending is a little bit rough, but hopefully we get Pizzola, Chekhov in net tonight. I think he's probably the best option there. But and the other thing is this Avs team is absolutely a wagon at home. They just don't lose at home. But on the road, I think they can they're 20-5 at home, and they're just 12-10 on the road. So if I am looking to bet the Avs, I'm certainly looking to do it on the road. And this Hurricanes team is absolutely awesome at home as well, 15-6 in their own home building. So I do have these teams fairly similar in a lot of different metrics. One thing, like I said, I think excuse me. I think the Avs defense is the main deficiency, the main leak. And I have this number significantly higher than the -130. I honestly have it closer to -150, -155. So I'm happy to take a Hurricanes team who's probably one of the best teams in the league, and I'm happy to take them at home against a tired Avs team here. So that's the way we're going to go. I think -130 is a great play. I'd probably play it right up to -140-ish over that. And honestly, I'm not sure that it's even going to get that high. It seems like there's some market support for the Avs here. But yeah, that's the way I'm looking. Hurricanes at home, -130-ish.
All right, Hurricanes -130, and Russ saying play that all the way out to -140. You can get those out there. There's -130s, 135s, hovering in around that range, and then all the way out to -140 and a little bit past if you have some of those books. But if you do have a book out there that's past -140 and you're looking to bet this tonight, head on over to betstamp.app/edgework and sign up there for a new sports book that is within that range so that you can come and play these games with us here. And it does help support the show as well. Betstamp.app/edgework. So, Money, where are you at, side or total on this game?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of anticipation here for Svechnikov being in the lineup. That's kind of pushed this number a little bit here. I'm waiting to see if he is in the lineup, how far that number goes. I do agree with Russ's look that it is at the current numbers, and in the chat I noticed Insight saying that he got Carolina -119.
Yeah, that's great.
At those numbers, it's definitely Hurricanes, right? I am interested to see who they start in goal. We don't have confirmation on that, and we don't have Andre status either. So once I get those two, I'm kind of waiting to see where it goes. But I think at the early numbers that Inside hit and that Russ hit, I do agree with the Carolina look, but I'm not there at this moment.
Quickly here, Charles asking any thoughts for the total of this game. So pulling this one back up here, you can see total 6.5. There's plus money on the over, some -110s out there on the under 6.5.
Yeah.
Either of you guys, if there's any thoughts on this total.
Yeah, like I would be hard pressed to play an Avs under at this point in the season. Like I said, their defense is just struggling, and their offense. I mean, their offense is just awesome. So they have gone over in 11 of their last 14 games for the Avs. So I do expect this one to be a little bit more high event. The Hurricanes do profile as an under team, but I think that I think this might be a little bit more high flying, a little bit more high scoring. So if I had to pick a side, it would certainly be the over here.
So, Money, where are you at on the total?
Yeah, the Hurricanes are they surprisingly push the pace quite a bit, right? Like we're not really accustomed to seeing that with their games. We kind of a lot of times view the Hurricanes as a very low event team, but they skate and they are able to push the pace. But at 6.5, it's tough for me to get involved. So at the 6.5, I'll pass. But Carolina overs is something that I will be looking at going forward. But for now, I can't get there on this game.
And Damani here, conflicted. Stay with the Fave Hockey Show or stay on Twitter for Shams tweets? Well, easy. First of all, Damani, appreciate it, but I mean, definitely stay here because then all you have to do later on after this show is head on over to the Board NBA and you can watch their trade deadline coverage. So you can just bounce from Hammer Show to Hammer Show throughout the day. So you don't got to worry about anything. Shams doesn't matter. Head on over to the Board NBA after this one and just hang out with those guys and see how as they're breaking down trades that are coming in throughout the course of the day. So don't worry about that. Now, quickly, before we even get to our Super Bowl prop, I don't know. So, Money, maybe you could help us price this one out. Lindholm goals tonight more than Kelsey TDs.
So Kelsey TDs, what is that? What's the number that?
I don't think that this is this would be great.
Yeah, he's like using money to score.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin lining this.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, keep hitting that that like button here in the chat while you're watching. Now, there's a few other games here tonight. So, Money, is there anything else that's kind of sticking out to you that you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I'll get behind this later in the day? You're waiting for news, confirmations, anything like that before you're gonna jump in and make a bet?
So I talked about the special situations on playing under 5.5. I think we actually do have one, and that's the under in the Winnipeg Philadelphia game. So I did play the under 5.5. Let's do that. I think, what are we seeing there? 110s? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So I have that under 5.5 up to minus 115. So we can go ahead and do that. Both teams, we know who they are at this point. I just hope that I don't get any surprises out of Winnipeg's lineup. But other than that, I'm fine with playing the under 5.5 there.
All right. So the under 5.5 minus 110 in Winnipeg, Philly. Russ, any other games that you're looking at tonight? Haven't bet yet, but might get to throughout the course of the day.
Not necessarily. I was looking at that Lightning Islanders over 6 potentially, since we're going to get Jonas Johansson in net for the Lightning. But that has taken some money. It was over 6 yesterday, and there's pretty much only 6.5s on the board now. Yeah. And honestly, the Islanders defense has really, really improved over the last month or so. Yep. And with the new coach, they're all the way up to 12th in expected goals against in the last month. So they've been playing a lot better. So probably going to get off of that train for now. At 6, I might have had some interest. I certainly had it circled, like I said, with Johansson in net there for the Lightning. But Sorokin has been playing better, and the Isles defense has been playing better. So I think that's probably priced appropriately at 6.5. So there's no play there for me. Then I think, as much as I dislike the Coyotes, I think this is probably a pretty good spot for the Coyotes at home. Honestly, getting a pretty big letdown spot for the Vegas Golden Knights, but it's the Coyotes have taken quite a bit of money since yesterday, and I think it's probably moved right into about the correct range. So there's no play, but I do think the Coyotes might sneak a win in there as poorly as they have been playing. But other than that, yeah, no plays. Just as one Super Bowl prop.
Yeah, let's get to that here, Russ. We teased it throughout the course of the show here today. People continue to hit that like button, so thank you to everyone who did that. Russ, you've got a Super Bowl cross-sport prop here for us for this weekend. What do you got?
Yeah, I've been doing prop work pretty much all the last 3 days or so, on and off. Obviously, there's a ton of things to sift through, and finally got to looking at the NHL ones just because had this show coming up. And there's a big one that sticks out. Honestly, it's available on Caesars Sportsbook, and it's Justin Reed total tackles versus the Golden Knights and Wild total goals on Monday. So I think Justin Reed total tackles is plus money. I think that's absolutely the way you have to go. This kid is he's had 4, 11, and 3 tackles in the playoffs, but in the last 7 regular season games, he's gone over 5 tackles in the 7 games in a row. Then conversely, I think this Knights Wild total could honestly be very, very low scoring game. I think this game will easily be lined at 5.5. And I think you could easily see a 1-2 game or a 2-3 game. So if you have to go over, basically get over 5 tackles for Justin Reed, and it's plus money at Caesars, I think that's a fantastic play. I think it's probably lined incorrectly. It's plus 110 right now at Caesars. And unlike Rob's Super Bowl prop, extravaganza, I don't think there's any day traders or odds makers watching this stream. Fortunately for us, so I would absolutely. I've already hit that. I've already played it. I think Justin Reed could easily have 7 or 8 tackles here, and this Golden Knights Wild game could be very, very low scoring. So I like Justin Reed total tackles over the goals scored in that game. I think that's a great play, especially if you're going to be watching the Super Bowl and then watching hockey the next day. And I also like the fact that they're on different days. The hockey game is on Monday. So if Justin Reed goes out there and gets 7 tackles, you pretty much have a winner right there already. So I think it's a great look, especially at plus money. The Wild or the Knights, the hockey game total was -140. I just think that's completely wrong. So that's a bet that I have made and a bet that's relevant for this show. And I think that way you have some action on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
I
cool.
was looking at Moretto's points versus the total goals on Sunday. That's interesting. If the Chiefs get to 10 points or so, that's you only have 2 hockey games on Sunday, so I think if it's probably a decent play. And they're pretty low scoring hockey games as well. So I was certainly trying to price that one out also, but yeah, I really like that Justin Reed one.
Yeah, these are the ones for me. I listen to the smart people around me, like yourself, Moretto, Rob. So money if he has these, and just listen to those and play them, because otherwise I'm just eyeball pricing these myself and kind of trying to find ones that are probably fun with a slight edge, but maybe not as much as you'd hope for otherwise. But these are definitely fun ones to do and have in your portfolio when it comes Sunday for the Super Bowl. So money, are you going to be adding any of these yourself come Sunday?
Yeah. So like I do have a lot of time set aside today. I'll be working with a couple of people. I don't do my own props, but I do help people do their props, and so
Right.
I'll be working on that today.
Makes sense. Also, Russ, to your points of people watching the show, first of all, you'd be surprised who's watching. I'll say that. And second of all, this chat reacts quickly, and they've got some influence, as we've seen sometimes when I'm trying to track numbers here on screen and something just starts flying around, not only because of things going on outside of it, but because our chat is quickly reacting there. So, yeah, we've got a pretty educated group of people watching the show on a daily basis. I'll say that. But for today's picks, we'll recap those. I do appreciate everyone who tuned in and liked the stream. If you haven't already, continue to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. We'll recap today's picks. And again, you can see these yourself over in the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. But just looking through what we've got here today, wrong screen. There you go. We have 4 best bets for tonight's games. First and foremost, you got the Carolina Hurricanes money line, -130 there against the Avalanche. These are all full units as well, by the way. So the Hurricanes money line, -130 against the Avalanche. The Flames Devils over 6.5, -105. The Jets Flyers under 5.5, -110. And then finally, the Capitals Panthers over 5.5, -120 there. So 4 best bets for tonight. Thanks to everyone who tuned in here today. We appreciate it. So Money, Russ, thank you guys for taking the time to do this. As always, we'll see So Money back here tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Russ, we'll see you back here next week. To everyone in the chat, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning as well. As for tonight's games, enjoy them and good luck on your bets.